Welcome to Slasher Sunday, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Yeah. So this is where the franchise has its black sheep of the original 8 films that I would consider like the core Friday the 13th franchise films. Then it got sold off and pretty much everything from there. And you got Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X and Friday, the remake and Nightmare, freaking crossover. All those things they do not feel connected to this.
Yeah.
Right, to this franchise. Even though technically they are connected. It just feels like this is more one story. The continuity isn't great. Yeah. Right? There are changes, there are omissions, there are, just ignoring things outright. But this is the Halloween 3 of the Friday franchise. And, once again, they did not get met with open arms initially. The film has since found its cult following for sure, and there are people who love this film, but we can't have revisionist history because of what is the norm now.
Right.
And it is this whole obsession with the guy under the mask who doesn't speak, who has really no character to him. Like, when we look at Michael Myers has some character to him, mostly through Dr. Loomis, but we do get to see him as a kid killing his sister and kind of this blank look in his face and whatnot when his dad takes his mask off. But Jason literally has no character. Like, yeah. It's pretty amazing how they've made so many films on this guy. And there's just literally like almost no attempt at building some kind of character. Once again, I'd made the disaster film connection to Halloween because of Dr. Loomis being the scientist who's running around. I know he's not a scientist, he's a doctor, but I'm saying, like, in the context of a disaster movie, it's, the asteroid's coming, the earthquake's coming, you got to prepare. And everyone's like, yeah, crazy old man, get out, like, get lost. And then the storm shows up and kills everybody, right? And the storm, in that sense, being Michael Myers. But this one is like the disaster movie without the old crackpot running around telling people that the storm is coming. This is just the storm's coming unbeknownst to anybody, right? We don't really have, until part 6, we don't really have that character that runs around and being like, Jason's on the loose, except for, I guess you could say, like, Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the same as Loomis.
No, not
and
at
I
all.
would say that for what Loomis does for Michael, Pamela kind of does for Jason.
Barely.
But because she's only really in the first film, and I guess in part, I don't know. We just don't get enough about him as a child. We only get what we know from Pamela.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, we've talked about, like, and you've kind of guessed or hoped, I guess we've hoped that the A24 like show would be something kind of exploring Jason's past.
It has to be.
Because I think that his character, I think you could make him into a really interesting character. I mean, obviously, like, the franchise goes crazy, like, we get Zombie Jason, we get Jason Goes to Hell, we get all these, like, different, iterations of him, where it's like he's not human anymore. Like, he really is just a killing force, which of course is scary in its own way. But we've talked about on the channel before how the slashers that even though Halloween is kind of an exception in this, but the ones that we really love, like, for me, like the Psycho series, they're so wonderful because Norman Bates has such a complex character. And I think that Jason's backstory, like the very little that we get, could be expanded upon to make him a really interesting character.
Of course.
But I mean, yeah, like, up until this film, like we don't have, and obviously because it's not Jason in this. This is a different person, and like so there's actual motivations for like why the killing is happening, aside from maybe Jason being caught in like this loop where he's reliving like his drowning and just killing campers and counselors and all this stuff because he's like stuck. But this is like there's real motivation, which is cool. It's really cool.
But this is the film, though, like that actually has something interesting going on in a character way,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is why I think slasher fans are actually most of the time just idiots. Like, seriously, I don't. It's the simplistic nature of them that makes them want to gravitate towards it, and they just like, you know, the killing and the boobs and the this and the that, and I love all that stuff too, but I also would like something more for sure. And as far as like scary goes, I've never considered this franchise to actually be scary in any way, shape, or form. I've never watched these movies and thought like that this was attempting to be scary, but I guess they are. I've always seen them as campy, and not because they're at a camp.
They are campy.
But I don't know. I could never take any of these movies seriously where I'm sitting there thinking someone would actually be scared watching this.
Yeah.
But I guess it does happen. I know people were in the theater probably screaming and whatnot. I don't,
Sure.
but I think it's like it's a cheap thrill scare.
Yes,
right? This is a
it
jump
is.
scare movie kind of thing, and a gross out shock
Yeah.
film kind of thing, where it's not really building any kind of lasting terror.
Right.
It's a climax and you're done. It's kind of like sex, right? You're like all excited, you pepped up, and then you finish, and then you're kind of like, I'm good.
But that's
right?
that's definitely not the case for all slashers. Like I would
No,
argue definitely
but I'm
that
saying
that
this one.
Halloween doesn't have that. I mean, some people might think it does, but I don't. I think that Halloween has a more lasting
Absolutely.
fear because it is like, especially at the end of the first one, it's like he's out there and like what the heck, and also it's random too.
But Friday tries
point.
to go for that too, right? Where
Friday does,
Jason
but
is still out there.
but
Man,
Jason
literally the
is,
movie ends with Alice saying, "We must still be out there."
Right.
right?
Yeah, you're right. They do go with that, but it's also like with the subsequent movies, like he is confined to this, like to Crystal Lake, to this area.
And Myers is
And
confined to
Myers is
Haddonfield.
confined to Haddonfield. You're right, but I guess I don't know. I just feel like Halloween has more of an impact in like the scary department, and also it is because it's not campy in the way that Friday is.
And I'd like to also point out that Jason makes his way to Manhattan and space.
Okay,
so you ain't even safe in space from Jason. From
You're
Michael
right.
Myers, you leave Haddonfield, you're pretty much good.
But it's also kind of like, I don't know, but there's definitely other slashers that are like legitimately scary too. I mean, obviously Psycho's the one that I keep thinking about because I think there's a lot in Psycho that's really freaky. But I think the Friday series, like, it definitely is more of a fun, like, good time kind of franchise.
Yeah.
And I think people who maybe aren't slasher fans, people who aren't horror fans, could feel more of the fear because of the things that you said, like the jump factor, the jump scares, and especially when there's gory kills.
Yeah.
You know, people really get like grossed out by that. This one, though, we were talking about watching it, kind of has a lot of lame kills.
Yeah.
This is maybe the worst kills in the franchise.
I don't know about in the franchise, but so far.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, so far it is.
I mean,
I'm trying to remember the ones from Jason Goes to Hell.
Some really lame ones as well. Eight is another one that's like super butchered by the MPAA. This one is famous for having gotten butchered by the MPAA because they felt like they let Friday the 13th, the final chapter, slip through unchecked because they thought it was going to be the last one, and then like a year later they sent them another one and they were like, oh hell no. But that even being said, I don't see a setup in here for cool kills having been cut. It's all just like literally half the kills in this film are someone taking a cleaver like to the face.
Right.
It's literally like the amount of times we see that block cleaver in Roy's hand and him like sticking it into someone's like face.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, did you guys really just like not even attempt to try to change up the kills in this one at all? You just were like, well, half of them are just going to be this cleaver.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's either, like just, but I mean, as you said, like there's not really like a setup for like cool kills that you're like, oh, why didn't they show that or whatever. It's just kind of boring. And I don't know if maybe the idea is like, well, but I don't know, like Roy is a man and he wouldn't do that. Like he wouldn't be as like
clever,
brutal. But at the same time,
Jason's a man up
until
zombies.
Yeah, so
the point I was trying to get to before you got me off topic, little miss, is that with this film, this is where the franchise had the opportunity to become more character driven and interesting. And of course, as usual, the fans revolted and they were like, give me the faceless, non-verbal villain who is not interesting in the slightest outside of his look. Oh, but you got the look. Yeah, but it has to be that guy under there. Why? This is another franchise where it's like, so they were trying to move away from it with Halloween 3, right? People freaked out. So then they brought in Halloween 4 and they were like, all right, like, why don't we just like kill him off and then we can pass it over to his niece.
Yeah.
And his niece can then take up the mantle. And then that can be something for character because she actually has character built around her throughout, part 4. And then into 5, we'll actually know who she is. We'll actually know something about her and we can build off of that. People were pissed off again. Like, no, you can't leave it there. So then they abandoned that and they kind of like, they brought her back in, but then they were like, well, we're not going to have her do anything with that. Right, because it's very obvious that Jamie Lloyd is supposed to like be the killer.
Yeah.
At the end, and so the same thing's going on here, where the whole movie is hinting that Tommy is the killer. Right, you're supposed to be led to believe, even though, of course, it's so obvious that Roy's the killer.
Oh my gosh.
Where they linger on him, and they even say like. We've got a cold-blooded psychopath out here, and then they just cut to like Roy, and he's just like, me, and then he's like says something, and he's like turns around, he's like, oh, I thought you were talking to me, Sheriff, and this is
it's very obvious, and I mean like the his reaction, like when we first see him, like how angry and like clearly upset he is at seeing his son, and then the next time he's like smiling and like, it's like, you talking to me? Such a change in demeanor that like, I think you can definitely catch that's the twist if you're paying attention.
But it's being so heavily like suggested that Tommy's probably the killer, which if I was to have it my way, Tommy would have been the killer in this film and been I would have had it been done differently, where I would have kind of blended part 5 and part 6's stories together in this one, to where Tommy's trying to tell everyone he's back, has seen do this more like high tension, where Tommy sees Jason rise from the grave. He sees Jason killing people, and he's trying to tell people, and they're like, he's dead. You're crazy, right? And he's just like, I'm not. And we go through the film and we're believing what he's seeing because we're like, Jason's back. And then we find out in the end that Tommy's the one who's doing the killing and he's seeing it through his own eyes. And then going into the next one, like Tommy is the killer from here. But of course people don't want that, and so we abandon it, even though the movie literally sets up Tommy as the killer at the end of this movie for the next film. And then of course people are pissed off and they're just like abandoned. It's like, I genuinely, I don't understand. I'll never get it when it comes to it. Like, because what you were just talking about, I was glad you brought this up because it's an important point. Does it matter who is at the front desk at the Bates Motel in Psycho? Yes, because Norman Bates is an actual character, so it very much matters if they were to just be like, you know what, we're just going to kill off Norman, we're going to bring in some other completely different person, and he's going to run the desk, and he's going to be the killer, then it would be like, huh? What? No. Maybe they could make that work, but
I don't know.
Probably not, because Norman is the franchise, because Norman is a character
Yes.
to build a franchise around. As to where with Michael Myers, as I've said before, if you were to never reveal, because I would even be fine with that, ambiguity would have been actually interesting here, to where the movie could have left off with you going, was that Jason?
Oh, sure.
Or was that Tommy?
That would have been really
That
cool
would have
too.
actually probably been my preferred
yeah
thing here, to just leave it off going, fuck, I have actually no idea.
I think that's really cool. Like I'm a real big fan of people who are victims kind of becoming unhinged and falling into the same patterns that their abusers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I think that that's a very realistic approach. I'm not saying that everyone who's been victimized like turns into like an abuser, but it is something that happens like a lot of the time. And for Tommy's character, especially with how he's acting in this and the way that like what happened to him when he was a kid has affected him so clearly, he cannot handle it. I mean, literally almost every other scene with him, he's beating somebody up. He's like freaking out on someone because of, just he has no control over his emotions, over his anger. He's scared, he's on edge. Like, makes total sense that he is mentally like unwell. Yeah. And so, him kind of, having that, the psychological break and like thinking that Jason is back, but it's really just like, split personality kind of thing or whatever. I really think that's interesting and something that would have been cool to actually explore. But I mean, people have such an attachment to, we've talked about, to Michael Myers, to Jason, and they, I would definitely feel like Michael is a little bit more of a character, but not by like a ton versus Jason. And for something like a Michael Myers, like you have other words for him. It's not just that's Michael Myers, it's also that's the boogeyman, that's the shape, right? Like you have that kind of like the monster term. You don't really have that for Jason. It's just that's Jason Voorhees. So maybe if there was some like other phrase that was used for him, it would be easier to transition somebody into that like role. But I don't know why people get so caught up on it, because they're weapons or they're forces of nature, like you've said, versus characters.
Well,
so it's like
as I was trying to get at with saying, when I said, I've said it time and time again, the thing I was alluding to was that if you were to end this movie not having said that Roy was the killer, and we were led to believe that, and that's when I went into the ambiguity thing, but I didn't get back to the point. If you were to leave it off on, it was Jason, literally the film could be exactly the same and just cut the Roy ending off. Mm-hmm. People wouldn't be upset. But because you're saying it's not Jason, but that's just it. That's why, that's proof to me that Jason literally has no character. Because all you're saying in the end is like, oh, just, and by the way, that guy that you believed the entire film was Jason, oh, it wasn't Jason, it was actually this guy. They're pissed off. And it's like, but this proves to you that Jason has no character. You couldn't do that with an actual character, right? You couldn't like tell somebody, oh, well, this isn't actually Neo, or this isn't actually Luke Skywalker.
It's
sorry.
Not really Harry Potter.
Because it's obviously them. The whole film, unless of course they like use some kind of charm or something to make themselves like in the Goblet of Fire or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like Jason is so not a character that it has to take them, telling you as the audience, like, oh, that's not Jason, and you to be pissed off because it's not Jason. It's like, who gives a shit? I just want to see a guy in a mask, like Jason's mask, killing people. Or as I had said in previous installments, I wish his mask changed every time. And so to then bring it to be Tommy, who is the killer, and we set it up that he is the killer in the end here, and then we move into the next films from here, having Tommy Jarvis be the killer from here is interesting to me. And like the kind of mental issues that he's having, and how he can affect other people. And just seeing like connections, like let's say in the next movie he starts stalking, you know, a new group of people, and one of them happens to be a kid who kind of reminds him of himself, and he starts to have like breaks where he can't bring himself. But I know that's not what people want. That's what's frustrating about the slasher fans, is that they really genuinely do want
the same thing.
The same thing. Yeah. They just want a different spin on the same thing. They want like the kills to be cool. Right? That's pretty much it. You just give them stupid teenagers who want to have sex, get naked, and get butchered in interesting ways. And they're happy, and that's all good and well. And I've watched those movies 1,000 times. But when you're in a franchise that's in its 12th film, at some point you just have to, and sometimes they take it too far. Sometimes it becomes Jason Goes to Hell. But like, you know, that, I don't know. I don't like that movie at all, and we'll talk about it. But I don't know. I'm harping on something. I'm beating a dead horse, I guess, at this point. We haven't even talked about the film exactly. We are this whole time. This is the whole essence of the franchise, and how this was the point in the franchise where they could have done something interesting. And I love Friday 6, 7, 8. Like, they're not great, but I love them. They're nostalgic as hell for me. And so I'm not like upset that they exist or any of that stuff. But I just feel like this was the juncture. This was the point in the franchise. This is the timeline. I just watched Loki season 2. This is the branch timeline that, you know, there was that opportunity. There's an alternate universe where people accepted this movie, and we got like the Tommy Jarvis killer movies. And I want to see that timeline. I want to see the Halloween 3 timeline where people liked it and they did more anthology spins. But I love Halloween 4, and I love other Halloween movies that came after that. So it's like, it's hard because, yes, I still want those movies, but I do also want to see what this would have been, right?
Yeah.
Had they stuck with their guns here and went off in an interesting direction, as opposed to just zombie Jason, which is just, I don't know, it's so ridiculous. But it is what it is. I like those movies. Let's get into this film, shall we? So we got the director here of The Unseen and Savage Streets. I've seen both of those. Kaylee has seen The Unseen. Seen The Unseen.
I saw The Unseen.
It is not unseen. It's seen. It's just seen now. All movies are unseen until they've been seen, right? Yes. We reviewed it. We did do that one, right? At least, because that was one of the like 12 slasher movies we watched in a row, and we didn't review like 8 of them.
I'm pretty
Remember?
Sure because
we went on this slasher thon.
We watched so many, and
we meant to do them for Slasher Sundays, but I didn't take notes on like most of them, and then I tried to retroactively take notes on them. The Unseen is one I do think we did do, though.
I'm pretty sure we did.
But I really liked that one.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
It's sleazy like this one, as is Savage Streets. Savage Streets is very sleazy.
But you know, that movie, like The Unseen and this, I actually think that this has some really good acting for the Friday franchise. Definitely from Tommy, but also from, I mean, okay, it's not really, really good because I was thinking of some of the other characters, but Tommy's acting alone, I think, is pretty decent in this. And, you know, even the little bits we get of Roy and stuff in this one.
Roy's pretty campy.
Yeah.
I think John Shepherd is great. I much prefer him over Tom Matthews. I think Tom Matthews is super silly. But connections to the Return of the Living Dead movie. In the first Return of the Living Dead movie, we obviously have Tom Matthews, who's like one of the main characters. Demon, who's in this, is one of the main punk kids, as well as Victor with the axe here, who chops up Joey. He is also suicide. He's the one with the mohawk who drives the car in Return of the Living Dead, who's dating Trash. So yeah, well, 3 different characters. from Return of the Living Dead. And I know Tom Matthews does not come into the next film, but I just thought it was interesting that so many people from that movie are in these next two movies. But yeah, so Savage Streets is a Linda Blair project when she was, getting away from child actress, kind of thing, and she was doing the sultry, sexy. She was exploiting the massive tits that she had on her like 4'10" frame. I guess like little golf balls would look big on her, but because she's so tiny.
She's so tiny.
But no, her boobs are huge, and she liked to do movies like that in the 80s, and Savage Streets is definitely one of those, like real sleazy 80s action erotic kind of movies, and it's funny, it's fun stuff. So even I do like Shepard's performance here for sure. But the movie does start with Corey Feldman coming back.
Yeah.
And he does look a little bit older. I don't know what his shooting schedule was like at that time. And I know that they kind of wanted to try to set up Tommy as the killer. So maybe they just thought this was too quick and they wanted to get it out faster. So Corey Feldman is just too young here to pull this off. But I definitely would have liked to get a little bit more from Corey Feldman, since like it's just such a quick opening scene.
I would even be happy with like another film with him, like him growing up in the film, getting older, and then ending it with like, a 20-year-old Tommy or whatever.
Oh no, they're teenagers in this.
I know, but find a teenage Tommy.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool too, to just see Corey like perform as him and like see, I don't know, just how everything hasn't been affecting him. But you had said too, you made a good point that it was kind of like a premonition because he sees him, like what happens in the next film, two guys digging up Jason's grave, who just like in the Brides of Dracula is buried like that deep.
To be fair,
into the ground.
To be fair, that's a dream sequence.
Yeah, but
so it makes sense that he's buried so shallow.
So shallow.
Because in the next one, when they actually dig him up, he's like 6 feet under.
You're right.
Right. So I don't have a problem with it because it's a dream, and in a child's dream, like
I guess it would be. But he's
an adult at that time dreaming about his childhood, but he's still stuck as a child in his mind.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Jason just being right there on the surface and just breaking through that.
I guess it makes sense
almost
too, because it's like he's on the surface of his mind.
Right.
That's good.
You got it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they were going for. I don't think that this movie's that deep.
That's a good explanation.
Literally. But I don't have a problem with him being buried that deep. But I do think that it is very coincidental that Tommy is there watching two guys dig him up and accidentally bringing him back to life and releasing him from his, prison basically underground. And then he does the exact thing in the next film with another guy. And I have no problem, of course, with anything that happens in that scene, because it is a dream sequence, because they wouldn't bury you with your mask. They wouldn't bury you with a machete and an ice pick. Right.
He comes out just ready to rock and roll.
But Tommy also dreams that he has a machete in bed with him at the end of this movie.
Right.
Now, as far as the end of this movie, we'll get there, but I got questions. Lots of questions, and there is no answer for any of them. But yeah, I never thought about that before. That's why I'm glad that we're going back and doing these, because my review back in the day when I did this was probably like 10 minutes long, and I don't know how the hell I used to do them in that short amount of time. People probably liked them better. Not you guys, though. You guys dig it. The title card blows up again. I don't know what's the Friday the 13th is blowing up.
I don't know.
But what do you think of the Roy mask? What do you think about the blue, like little the shirt I gave you? Everyone always is like complimenting Kaylee's shirts in the comments, and I'm always like,
half of the time they're his hand-me-downs.
My shirts.
But they're mine now. Actually, no, some of them aren't. Sometimes I'm wearing just your shirts.
They're yours now. They are.
They're mine.
They are technically by law.
Wearing your clothes.
By law, you own half half of this shirt is yours.
No, this one you legit gave to me because it's too small for you.
I did.
Anyway, I like the mask. I mean, it's freaking the same thing. It's the same. It's a hockey mask with blue stripes instead of red.
Yeah, I really dig
Like,
this mask.
it's cool. I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
He should have had a different color for each film, so he could have been like LGBTQ, like Pride Jason.
I love that he has a different mask.
Yeah.
If it looked just like Jason's mask, that would be silly to me.
Yeah, I think it's a subtle way to tell the audience like it's not really Jason.
Yeah. You think the blue is relevant to anything? Is it telling us anything?
He has very blue eyes. His eyes
are
like strikingly blue.
So you think he's like a chick? He's like trying to match his outfit with his eyes?
Chicks aren't the only ones that do that.
Match their outfit with their eye color? Guys do that? I'm sure there's a guy. Or two gay guys or something. I don't know.
No, I don't think he's trying to match his eyes. I think the blue, I don't know that it has any significance. I mean, blue as a color is like as non-threatening of a color as possible. It's
and red is the most threatening.
Right. So if anything, it's like the opposite.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting point. Why on the cover of A New Beginning they have this like weird mask with the red eyes over here? You guys know what I'm talking about. It looks like the mask that Clark wears when he cuts up the tree in Christmas Vacation.
That's a hockey mask that he's wearing.
It is. I mean, now they're all hockey masks,
weird
but it's
hockey mask.
But it has like square little holes in the thing. I'm looking at it right now over here, and it looks nothing like the mask.
No, not at all.
I would actually kind of dug that as a mask. Just because it would look so different than Jason's.
It really would.
But it kind of still is similar. Mm-hmm. But they do the same thing here, technically. So I like this mask. I got no problem with it. Yeah. We move into the Pinehurst Rehab Center with these teenagers.
All of which are in their mid to late 20s.
Dude.
And or late 30s.
Victor is ridiculously old.
39?
Victor is like he's like challenging me to an age competition. Bro, this dude's in his 40s. He's so old.
Can play a teenager is all that means.
In the 80s.
In the 80s.
In the 80s I could play a teenager.
In the 80s they would just shave your beard.
Barely.
And put you with a skateboard, backwards cap like you have.
Steve Buscemi style.
Yeah.
No, he is ludicrous old. It's like he's one of the oldest. We saw that house party picture recently. That's definitely one of the older kids that I've seen in a teenage role. But this one actually made me laugh out loud when I saw Vic. Vic is ridiculously old for being a teenager. As far as like who looks the most like a teenager in this movie, if of anybody, who looks the youngest to you? Probably Tommy himself. Maybe not.
Tommy's like all. No, he doesn't.
Tommy's early 20s.
He looks early 20s for sure.
Maybe the chick from Slumber Party Massacre too.
Yeah, she doesn't really wear a lot of makeup in this. They have her kind of made under-ish.
Yeah.
I guess maybe her.
Yeah. She had quite the horror career for a bit when she did that. She did Slumber Party. She did this. She did Slumber Party Massacre too. She did Deadly Dreams, and she also was in one more. What did I say last night?
I don't remember.
Oh, it's a big one. Psycho 3. Yeah, where she plays Red. And she gets naked in every single one of them, which is she's wonderful.
She's very comfortable being nude on screen, but
this is definitely the one that I don't know. 4 and 5. This one, no, I don't know. I don't know which one's more gratuitous because
there's a lot of naked chicks.
I like how the reason I would say this one, even though the last one has more nudity, because there's more chicks who are naked in it, This one just feels like the director knows exactly what the audience wants, and he's not shying away from it at all,
Yeah.
because like he frames them. So like a lot of movies try to do this like classy nudity, where when they're doing like close-up shots of like who they are and who, you know, their characters are or whatever, they shoot them kind of like from here up, but then they'll kind of shoot them from a distance
to showcase the body,
to doing whatever. And with these, they're like full in frame,
right,
like half shots with nudity,
with
and it's like they just focus and linger, and this is definitely my preferred version.
It's showtime.
I love it. You got Lana's
Lana's a cutie though. Lana's so adorable.
Lana's reveal of her boobs in this just tells you everything that you need to know about the kind of film that this is.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And then the girl in the woods,
Deborah Sue Voorhees.
Yeah, the Voorhees of the franchise.
Yeah, her name's Tina.
Tina
and Eddie.
Yeah, she definitely also. I mean, it's very clear that was like the intention for her role was just to be like, you're gonna be the naked one. Like,
but they're all being the naked one.
But they all, except
even Pam, who does like the wet t-shirt contest in this. It was like, oh my god,
you could see really clearly.
There's nothing left to the imagination. I mean, she might as well just taken her shirt off. It's like wet and completely formed to the body. Like we see absolutely everything Pam has to offer. I don't know. This is definitely another one where so many girls in this are so attractive.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would pick as my number one in this one, but they're all very attractive. Violet obviously is my style in the movie, but she's the only one that does not take off her top. She doesn't wear a bra under her shirt.
I feel like none of them do. That's definitely something when we watch like older films. There's so many women that just don't wear bras, and I'm always like, that was just the thing though, like people didn't wear bras, which makes me definitely like, I don't like wearing bras, but it's just kind of crazy that it's like it seems like it was more acceptable, because I feel like, I don't know though, maybe not.
I see girls without bras on outside all the time.
Yeah, it just is. I feel like on film, like in modern film, I feel like most girls that we see in movies have bras on like half the time, even when they're going to sleep, which always kills me, because I'm like, no sane woman ever has slept in a bra intentionally unless she was like drunk. Because it's like, no, it's like such a thing, like a feeling of relief to take your bra off after you've been wearing it all day. But yeah, I feel like in these movies especially, and I do think that's probably also because it's like we want to see the boobs. So
we do. We as in I and me and I it's weird. So a bra's purpose is for what exactly?
Well, I know sometimes I've worn no bra and like the material of my shirt like rubs against my nipples.
Okay, that's what I
expect.
It hurts. So the bra's mostly for the nipples. You couldn't just put like pasties over the nipples?
You could, I guess.
And it would do the same thing?
Yeah.
Because I've heard that bras actually let that women's breasts, and I don't see how this is possible, but that women's breasts stay perkier with when they don't wear them.
I don't understand.
I don't see how that's possible. That's
like a myth.
That's got to be a myth.
I don't really know why.
Because it's like holding the gravity, and not letting the gravity pull them as much, right?
I don't know.
That's what would make sense to me.
Yeah.
The point I'm asking for is that girls with little boobs, like Robin in this, they're wonderful, but they're very small. And I wonder,
they're perfect.
I wonder, like, especially, I don't know, there's girls that I've known, there's girls that I've seen in movies like this, all throughout, like girls who have like barely any tits, like at all.
Yeah.
And they're wearing bras. I'm like, this has just got to be for nipple rub, right? Like, there's no point to wearing a bra when your boobs are that small.
It's weird because it's like you don't really have, like, guys don't have that issue.
Oh, sure we do. Runners do.
Mm.
Runners bleed. I used to bleed from the nipples if you go running and the material rubs on you enough. So you'll see like in marathons, they'll have people who people will be bleeding from the nipples. But I always wondered that when I was seeing Robin in here and she like takes off her bra and I'm just looking at it like, what do you even need a bra
so
for?
yeah, I think that, and then also obviously the other part is that they can make certain shapes. So it's like obviously you have padded bras if you want to look like you have more boobs, but then you also like, for example, I'm wearing like a sports bra, which makes my like chest like more flat, I guess, versus like when I wear like a regular bra and it like kind of separates my boobs more.
So sports bras are the devil.
No, sports bras are really comfortable.
No, I'm sure they are.
But yeah, I think that's probably the two main reasons is like the shape and then also for like protection against material.
Yeah, so there you go. The more you know. You're gonna have that little star come across the screen. Okay. So thanks to Kaylee for the education on bras. I don't know.
I hate bras.
I was always curious on it. Now with huge tits, I totally get it. Right? When you're carrying those things around,
dude.
But like
awful,
small little boobs, like flats. I see girls wearing bras with them, and I'm like, why?
Oh my god! So, if I had small tits, I would never ever wear a bra if I didn't have to.
Yeah. But you would just think, as I said, you just put something over the nipple.
Yeah.
If it's 100%. Just a nipple rub, you just put something over the nipples. Whatever. Anyway, okay. Tommy looks absolutely insane in this movie the whole time. So I do. I really like Shepard's performance in this. I think he's great. And I would have preferred him to be the guy in 6 as well, but he would not have matched the vibe of 6 in the slightest.
Oh my gosh, no.
Right. Tom McLaughlin wanted a really goofy film.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I would say of all the movies, like this one, especially its main character, are the most serious. And then we lead from this one into the most unserious. The 6th one is so goofy. It's like a cartoon.
I love
it. And this one before it is like this really sleazy, very serious, character study of Tommy and what happened to his psyche after the events of 4. So it is weird. These back to back are a weird combo.
It definitely is like, people didn't like this one. Like, let's go back to being like.
Well, no, 6 is, of course, in response to the popularity of Freddy, right? Yeah. So Freddy is the one who made horror like more comedic in the late 80s.
It only works with Freddy though because
he can talk.
He can talk, just like with Chucky. That's why Chucky can get away with it too.
Yeah, it's hard to.
When you have freaking a silent man, just like. It's just, it means everybody else around obviously becomes goofier.
There's nothing about Jason that's funny. Like,
no,
so there's nothing he really.
He can't do anything about it. It's not his fault.
Yeah. Yeah. So if this was not a Friday the 13th film, it would be so obvious Roy was the killer. I had written that down. I forgot to mention that when we were talking about it, but like. I was thinking about that because we're being led to believe that it's supposed to be Jason, but then we're like, dude, it's Tommy.
Yeah.
But like, if this was the first movie, right? And we were just being like, oh, this happened to this kid.
Oh my God.
You would be like, it's Roy. It's so obviously Roy.
Alone. The look that he has is. But that's what I mean. I think that's pretty good acting because he is like there's intention in that expression.
Yeah. Is there a more what's the best way to say this? Is there a worse matchup that's more unbelievable in this franchise than Billy and Lana? I mean, I know that girls will sleep with disgusting men. Period. But when it comes to drugs, that's a lot of the times what ends up happening, right? And maybe, I don't know, maybe Billy was a stud in the 80s, but oh no, she's I don't think they've known each other all that long.
Oh, you're talking about just like that.
But in
like,
the 80s, he's always reminded me of the Micro Machine guy. Have you ever seen the Micro Machine guy?
The guy that talks like super fast?
Yeah. If I've ever seen, like, if you ever look at those two guys side by side, I actually thought it was the Micro Machine guy when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, Micro Machine guy's getting laid. Hope he doesn't have a micro machine in his pants. But yeah, Lana with Billy is so unbelievable to me. And he's treating her like shit throughout. Like, he keeps yelling at her, and he's so impatient. And I'm just like, bro.
And she's like so sweet and just being like, like joking with him. I mean, he does cocaine and she does cocaine. So I do think that might play a factor in their relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, he's not like disgustingly ugly or anything. Like, he's a pretty like average looking dude. He just isn't like
he's not horrendous looking.
He's not like he doesn't look like the kind of dude that would be driving that car and like wearing a leather jacket and act. But like, he also like by day is working at the freaking whatever loony bin. So then by night he's like, this is who I really am. And like, I don't know, there's probably a ton of people who like dress a certain way at work and like look very professional, and then like when they go home they're like freaking metalheads or something, you know, like me.
Yeah.
But I don't look that, I wouldn't say I look like, I don't have that drastically different. I just put on a horror t-shirt.
But he doesn't look any different when he comes over there. He just has a different car.
I don't know. I mean, the other thing too is that I feel like, even though I think this has started to come back into style, is like mustaches. Like, guys would like kind of just like the mustache.
Yeah.
In the 80s was like a big thing, and I feel like if you had good facial hair, even if you're like balding or whatever, like, it's fine.
It's not a good match.
But
I disapprove. Okay. And we've got, so obvious, I don't know. The mayor in this movie outright says that Jason's body was cremated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously a retcon.
Yes.
But the sheriff in this is like, were you there? This is like the argument you hear from like, you know, religious people over like dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know? Were you there? And I'm like, were you there when Jesus was walking the earth? What is this argument? This is the dumbest argument I've ever heard someone make. Somebody who cites things that happened thousands of years ago to them. And
they're like, but were you there?
But were you there? Is like, their argument. Were you there? Oh my God, don't even get me started on these people. That is the worst argument to have when literally all your proof is just a book.
No. But this guy is just like,
were you there? Yeah. Were you there? Were you?
He's just trying to call doubt into
but anyways, his mind. He does say that. He's like, but were you there? So, but when we see it in the next movie, Jason has like a proper burial ground.
Yes.
With his own, you know, tombstone and everything. So I don't feel like the police would like, I just don't feel like he got a proper burial and then it's like everyone knows that he was cremated. This doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree.
So it's just a straight up retcon.
It would be better if it was like he was buried somewhere and it was like an unmarked grave and they found out like, oh, like that's actually, he was buried. Like they didn't cremate him. But I feel like it's cheaper to cremate somebody.
Oh, if Jason was killed like he was in the fourth film, they would cremate him.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know why he would get a burial. There's no family, and
it
would just cost money for the state to bury him.
Where would have been cool to bury him, if I could do the movie, would have been next to Pamela.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It should have been in that little graveyard that we see in with 4.
Pamela. Yeah, that would be cool.
So, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Nor here nor there, but that is an absolute retcon. Yeah. Jason was cremated in this version. So you could argue that part 5 never happened. You could argue that part 5 is just straight retcon. Mm-hmm. That we go from 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Because 6 does not seem to acknowledge that 5 ever happened in any way, shape, or form to me. Because Tommy is a completely different character. Mm-hmm. And unless I'm forgetting something,
doesn't he? I mean, but he was in also a
yeah,
institution.
it's
though,
basically
so
like they're just ignoring that 5
that he
happened,
ever
and
went
they're
to.
basically doing
Mm,
the movie over,
mm,
where they're like, okay, he's in a mental institution, like we said before, and we're gonna have the same opening, but except for the 2 guys, one of them's actually gonna be Tommy, and they're
Yeah.
gonna actually be digging him up this
Yeah.
time. It's basically part 6 is a retcon of 5 and just taking elements from it and then ignoring that 5 ever happened.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Lame.
Because Tommy, if he did kill Pam at the end of part 5, I mean, maybe that's why he's back in the insane asylum in part 6, but he broke out pretty easy with his buddy.
Yeah.
So I don't.
And I don't think
know.
that they would. Yeah.
And he would, yeah. I would think the sheriff would have gotten some evidence on him, like when they called in, because
Right.
the sheriff brings him in and then lets him go, like drives him out. And it's like, is he a convicted like
He's not
killer who's psychotic?
Yeah, not at that point.
Right.
Right.
I mean, he shouldn't have let him go in 6 if that was the case. Bad police work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, so when Tina and Eddie have sex, great tits. Eddie goes away. He walks to go take a piss.
Yeah.
And then Tina screams bloody murder at the top of her lungs.
Loud.
And Eddie somehow does not hear her.
No, it makes no sense.
Literally no sense at all.
There's no explanation for why he wouldn't hear her.
You're out in the...
It's quiet enough,
you're out in the woods.
And he doesn't go that far.
It would carry
100%.
so far.
Yeah.
There's no way he didn't hear.
He doesn't have headphones in.
No.
Doesn't have nothing.
No. He's right there.
He's right
there.
He's
right there, too.
He would have heard and turned around and ran back immediately.
100%. 100%. And he's also not... He's not damaged in any way. Tommy beats the shit out of this guy earlier that morning.
He
flips him over on a table, punches him 100 fucking times, rabbit punches him. He's like... and then he's just like out having sex, no bruises, no nothing. Okay.
He's just kind of indestructible, but he has he's going deaf because of his age.
Yes. Because he's 50.
Yeah.
And when he... the belt strap around, which is actually a more interesting kill, but like when he's twisting it and it's like kind of going, when the belt snaps, that's like he's free.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be like his head cracking, but it's not. It's the belt breaking.
It is supposed to be like his head like cracked, but it doesn't. I don't know why the belt would break if that happened.
Now there's a scene.
If anything, it would break like in the middle, and like he'd pull it back, and it would be like had split because he'd pulled it right.
Right.
Instead of it being like
it would be taut, and then it wouldn't.
And then
it would come back to zero. Yeah. That would have made more sense. But the belt breaking makes no sense. That's like, oh, he's free now. I mean, he'd have damage on his eyes, but then Roy would have to finish him off. That is one kill where I could see there being an harder R-rated cut of that kill, right? Where you see the head crush in, like in the last one.
That would have been nice.
With the dude in the shower.
Yeah.
Right? Up against the wall. That would be cool. Obviously, Tina, Deborah Sue Voorhees' kill with the... Oh, yeah. And that would have been cool to see.
Both of them have like eye-related deaths.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Ethel is hilarious to me.
Oh yeah, she's super fun.
Her and Junior are definitely some of my favorite characters in this. They make me laugh. Demon. Actually, funny enough, like it's more of the secondary characters that I find more interesting and likable and memorable in this. And it's like the core group of the kids. Like, well, I don't know. It starts with Joey is funny. You're really out of line, Vic.
Yeah,
like he's funny to me. And Vic just chopped. Like, why would you give Victor an axe?
100%.
The guy is so angry all the time.
This is like the kind of place where they're like, we're not going to limit like what we allow them to use because we don't believe that they're broken or whatever. But it's like they're literally like.
I hope they took them. I hope they took it away after that. I hope that there's no axes. Never mind.
Nobody's gonna chop wood around here.
But there's a free available chainsaw out in the barn that Pam picks up really shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I don't feel like they've puppy proofed their house.
They sure have not.
Or farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the main characters, I think, like Violet, obviously, and
not
even,
interesting.
I think
Robin is not interesting.
Robin is the
flat-chested one.
Okay, what's the guy's name? Because I thought that, like, I really liked the scene between Robin and the other guy, that when he's like trying to come onto her and everything, and he's like got like OCD or something. I liked his character because I felt like I like that they're there because it's not like everyone that's here is like Vic or Tommy, where they're like brutal and like violent or whatever. Like they're all just like have different like things that they can't cope with for whatever thing. Even though with Robin, I don't really know what hers is, because like really all we see is that she just like kind of laughs at that guy and is
Jake.
like at
Sorry,
Jake
I'm
is like mean to him.
Yeah.
And then Violet, it's like she's just goth.
Yeah, but they're not interesting. Like, there's a cool scene between Robin and Jake for a second. I didn't mean it. Right? Yeah. That kind of stuff. That's fine. She laughs at him for coming on to her. But there's not really anything going on with them. It's just kind of like they're there. They're not all that interesting. They might be good to look at. Like, Tina and Eddie are like nymphomaniacs, right? Who just want to screw all the time. And that's fine. But they're just not as memorable. And like Ethel, Junior, Demon, like those are the characters that are really memorable.
They are super memorable. I mean, I agree with you. Would you eat Ethel's stew?
The stew that she's screaming at frickin' Junior to come in and start eating, even though she's literally still in the process of chopping the vegetables to put it in there. Like, do you know how long a stew takes to frickin' simmer?
She's literally putting carrots in there.
Yeah.
Like just uncooked raw carrots. But I was meaning too, she's like stirring it with her
she also
spits
hands in it.
Yeah.
And is using like her dirty ass hands to cut everything up. He's used to. Look at Junior. You think he cares? You think he cares?
It's gross,
okay.
Though.
Here's the question: do you think it actually tastes good?
Like, because she's like, it's my famous stew.
Yeah. Because he's eaten that slop earlier, and he seems to love it.
No, I think he's like a freaking pig. I think he would eat anything.
Do you think that the ugly guy at the door, supposedly to her,
dude, he makes it seem like he's like so hideous, and he's just like a normal guy.
Yeah. Do you think he gets to eat, or do you think he died before?
I think he died before.
Why is he all the way out in the forest when he's supposed to be cleaning shit out of the chicken coop?
He probably like started cleaning the shit and then was like, I don't want to do this actually, and then like left. It was like, I'm gonna watch these people have sex instead.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah.
He's a cleaver death, isn't he?
He is.
I don't remember how he dies.
Yeah, something like that.
He's got a boring death.
Yeah.
For sure. But
so many boring deaths.
Yeah, I don't think he got to eat. And yeah, Junior like riding his bike and stuff.
Yeah. They hurt me, mama.
It's literally just Tommy.
Chop him into little bits. I love him.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Yeah. Dude. He's funny. He's funny. Her screaming, everything with her, just everything.
When she's like,
I got a bomb on me.
Like, don't get close to me. I got a bomb on me. Like, what?
I know she's kind of the loon in town, but
she is.
Like, cops would take that seriously now. They would arrest her.
Now
but in
you
the
can't
80s,
be like, but she says it so like she doesn't have a bomb on her. Like she just says it like in a way that's, I don't know. It's so funny.
It's so funny. Back up, chair. I got a bomb on me.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. She's hilarious.
Yeah.
Junior's funny. Like when he comes up and he's picking on Tommy and he gets his ass kicked. Just all of it. Demon, of course, is like my favorite character in the movie. Yeah. Everything he says, everything about him, he's just the best.
He's really fun.
The damn enchiladas and the ooh babies.
Yeah.
And he honestly, he has the most memorable, scary, and brutal death in the movie.
Yeah, honestly.
He is terrorized.
He's scared, and he's really scared. Yeah, because he's just like, you're trapped in there, and he saw his girlfriend dead, so it's like
terrifying. Yeah. His death is terrifying. It's the scariest in the franchise. In the movie for sure.
Yeah.
Because everyone else just kind of gets like a cleaver to the face or something. It's like, it's quick, it's over. It's, you're scared for 2 seconds.
I mean, I guess
Demon has to
Eric
see
gets
his
like,
girlfriend dead. Then he's like scared, and then he's getting this skewer put through different sides, and it's going through his leg, and it's going through.
ooh, when it goes through, because like
It's
it
like his
goes through like
knee.
the
Yeah,
like the top of his knee.
yeah.
Oh, like it's not even deep. It's like,
Brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal, and he's terrified, and he does a great job of playing terrified
yeah,
in that scene.
I agree.
So he has the most memorable death, and the scariest death. That scene though is scary.
Yes,
So
yeah,
like very rarely does this franchise be
yeah.
scary, but that
I
scene's
think
scary.
there's definitely times in the franchise when Jason is like stalking people, like if somebody's alone and like unsuspecting, and
Yeah.
like there's definitely moments where I think that there's a bit of like atmosphere and scary factor.
Why is Robin, I'm sorry. Why is Violet listening to like the
There's a
dumbest
oh,
music ever
I don't
when they
know.
first walk into her room and
Yeah,
she's like dancing to it, and I'm like, what is this
I
garbage?
don't know what
And
that
then the
is.
next time they come into her, like when Roy comes into her room, it's music that fits her.
Yes,
It pseudo echoes His Eyes, which has
yes,
become kind of an iconic staple song for the franchise
yeah.
now, and probably that is my favorite song
Mm.
related to this franchise
Mm-hmm.
because it is like
Relevant.
relevant to
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
right? And it's funny because this is
It's
the
not
one
even about
without
Jason. Yeah.
Jason, so it is kind of funny. But
I feel like that song in general is very fitting for like a lot of slashers, because like if it had
yep,
played in a Halloween movie, it would work really well.
it would work very
It would
well
work
for Michael
really well for
Myers.
Michael. But yeah, I love that song, and I don't know why she was listening to some weirdo like music before, but I love her dance. It's like
Oh yeah,
not a robot, but kind of a robot.
I
Like
love
she
it.
kind of just like does the same moves like over and over, but it's like not robot.
I think she's so sexy,
It's
and I think the dance is so
oh my
cute.
god, it's
And
not a sexy dance, but it's a really cute dance. It's super cute. Um, yeah, it's super cute, and it's a bummer, obviously, that she dies.
that's a bummer any of them die,
Yeah.
but yeah. But okay, and yeah, lame kills as I said,
Yeah.
and of course Roy. I don't think Roy. So curious here. Do you think that Roy is trying to pin the deaths on Tommy because
Mm.
he does stack the bodies in Tommy's room
Mm.
specifically, and
Um,
Tommy is the one who has the Jason backstory, and he would be the easiest one to
yeah.
pin it on.
I never really thought about it, but I think yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it's not like they know who Tommy is. Like it seems like
But
people
would
know.
Roy know who he is? He looks at the papers. He has the newspaper
I
clippings.
think he would know.
And I think in the newspaper clippings, maybe Tommy's story is in there.
Oh yeah.
But is that
But
where
then
he
the fact
gets
that he
the
puts it
idea? Is that like he looks up and he
well,
figures out that Tommy came in?
I don't know if he gets. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably where he gets the idea to like, because I feel like Jason in general like is a good cover for people wanting to kill others, like regardless of if Tommy was there. So I don't think that like inspired him to like pretend to be Jason.
It's a little
But
coincidental that Tommy
yeah,
Jarvis just so
but at the
happens to be
same
there.
time, yeah, I do think that I think he was probably trying to pin it on him.
But that would make it even more coincidental that he's
Yeah.
trying to pin it on the guy who killed
So maybe
Jason.
you're right then. Maybe it's like he gets the idea at the same time.
Because he has all the newspaper clippings, I'm going to think that maybe he just like looked in. So what would make sense is Vic kills his kid, which that whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. Why is Joey at this crazy nut house that no one knows Roy is his father? He works in town and doesn't let anyone know. I guess it's just his dark secret, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's
So
ashamed of it, but then at the same time was like,
I guess it's fine. I don't know. Why isn't he active in his life? He's just like, he cares so much about his kid, but doesn't. I don't know, whatever. He goes on a murderous rampage. He loves his kid so much, but he's abandoned him. I've abandoned my boy.
The funny thing too is that it's like it does kind of mimic Pamela and Jason, right? Because like he is also kind of developmentally challenged, and but like you said, yeah, it's interesting that he's not like an active part of his life.
That's a good point. Roy becomes Pamela, defending her kid who was killed by, you know, a place that's supposed to be watching over kids, and in that place, kids get killed by other kids because the staff is incompetent. That's a good parallel for sure. But yeah, I just think it would make sense had he researched the facility after that death of his kid, and then was looking at the people who were still there.
Yeah.
And he looks at the new transfer and he looks into his past, and this is what inspires him, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. It's too coincidental that he would pick Jason specifically when Tommy showed up, and he has these newspaper clipping articles.
Yeah.
But the newspaper clipping articles he has, A, don't make any sense, and B, they look old. They look worn. How does can you I don't want to jump to the end yet, but we need to, though, because we've been doing this for like an hour. We've been talking about this for a long time. We talked about a bra for like half an hour, so that's a long enough of that. Let's see. Why does what does that say? I don't know what that says. Before seeing the killing. I don't know. Whatever. Roy just sits there and takes a tractor to the chest. I have no idea why he does that.
Yeah, he doesn't like move.
You've got the voice in Tommy's head about Jason saying, "Remember." Yeah. And it sounds like the Predator when he's playing the voices back he hears.
Get what that is. I always am like confused. Like,
he remembers. That's all he thinks about. So what is he remembering?
That's what I mean. Like, I don't understand why he's saying remember, remember.
I have no idea.
I don't know what that means. I don't know why he's saying that to himself.
No idea. It's literally all he thinks about. It's his entire life, and it's like, remember. It's like, bro, I remember. I remember. It's literally all I do.
I guess he's trying to be like, remember that he's dead. Like, so that's not Jason.
Oh, maybe.
But I mean, it's still a threat. It doesn't really matter at that point if it's not Jason. Like, the guy's coming at you with a weapon.
I do like that Tommy still makes masks in this.
Yeah, I do too.
Right? He doesn't in the sixth one, but here he's still making the mask, so that's a little more connection to the fourth. Cool. Anyway, but it does sound like Predator voice to me. When Roy falls out the thing, and then they go to look over, and he climbs up, and then they show the outside. I'm like, there's literally nothing for him to climb.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Because he's not at the at the top of the railing thing. Like he's like on the side, and it's just completely flat.
Yeah.
And he like crawls up, and I'm like, what did you hold on to out there?
I don't know.
It's like there's like one piece of plywood, I guess, a little lower, but it's not enough.
He grabbed that, and then
he grabbed that as falling, and then lifted himself. Roy is jacked. Yeah. Tommy is cut in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
When they show Roy's bald cap, as the mask has come off, there's flaps for some reason. And the flaps have been laying flat would cover his eyes.
Yeah.
I don't get this. I don't know why the flaps are out like this. And it's like the mask would have had to go over it, and those flaps would have to come in for the mask to go over his face without him pushing out.
Right.
So why are there flaps here that would literally, because they're completely solid, they would cover his eyes? That makes literally no sense at all.
No sense.
So that's funny to me.
Yeah.
And why? Okay, so I guess we can get to the ending now, finally. Okay, so why does Roy have like a picture of Joey from the day he died in his wallet? Did you notice that? It's like literally, I think it's the same outfit he's wearing. I don't know. They like took that snapshot. It's his only one, covered in chocolate at all times.
He's always covered in chocolate.
Yeah. But I laughed when I saw the picture in his wallet. I'm like, bro, that is like.
Yeah.
I know it's for the audience. For me, like, oh, that's that guy.
That happens all the time. Like, there's that picture of Michael that is like impossible.
Well, there's this one,
and
where we see a literal picture that someone took of Jason,
right,
in his outfit, and I'm like, no one took that picture. That picture does not exist.
Like, that's not real.
They put that in the newspaper.
The newspaper got it.
Somebody's last image they took as they were murdered by Jason. The picture of Jason in his wallet is so asinine to me. How that picture exists is beyond, but I get it.
Impossible.
Like, he had to know what he looked like.
Right.
Couldn't be an artist rendering from like testimony given from like Tommy Doyle.
Sure.
Right, which would make sense.
Yes.
No, it has to be an actual picture of Jason coming at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So that cameraman died. Who's that cameraman? I want to know who the cameraman.
Who took the picture?
Yeah, who gave their life for that picture in the newspaper. I guess they could reenact. It could be a reenactment picture, right? But it's Jason. And also, so we've got Jason's ghost in Tommy's room, and then he fades away, and he has the dream. There's a dream sequence in like every one of these movies. But then Tommy goes over. Not only does he break the window, and Pam opens the door literally the second he breaks the window, and somehow he's behind the door.
Yeah.
So he broke the window. What do you like? Threw a brick from behind the door.
Oh yeah, there you go.
He's, I don't know whether there'd be a brick in there, but something.
Right there.
She is the door, and then right there, and she has the loudest footsteps on earth because Tommy hears her about 30 seconds before she enters that room.
Yeah.
He starts hearing the footsteps, which is the exact same shot as the shot in his dream of her walking over there. So it's like he's having premonitions.
Yeah, it is.
Right? You could argue premonitions, which goes back to what I had said about like dream sequences being supernatural in this franchise. So Tommy's having premonitions, kind of like
even in there's been multiple premonitions, like the one with the girl from it's part one, right, where it's like she has like the dream about like rain when she's younger.
Oh yeah.
Remember that was like the very first like dream sequence, or not dream sequence, but like talk about a premonition. Yeah,
I like that. So there's a lot of premonitions and dream sequences that may or may not be supernatural in this franchise. But you want to tell me how so okay, really quick though, I will mention that in his dream of Jason who's standing there as a ghost, it does look like Jason has this cut in his head from where Tommy put the blade into his face. A little cool attention to detail there. But why is the mask that Roy had in Tommy's drawer? At the hospital. They're like, we're just going to leave this here for you.
Might want this. He likes masks.
He likes police evidence.
He likes police evidence.
I heard he's really into police evidence.
Dude.
So we gotta give it to him instead of like, putting this towards Roy's murder case.
Yeah, I don't know why it's in his drawer. Because it makes it seem like that's his mask.
It almost makes it seem like Roy and Tommy were killing together and he had a second mask that he had with him.
That would have been cool.
But why wouldn't, like,
I don't know why Tommy would kill with him.
The nurses or whatever were like, I don't know anything about this case. I'll just leave this here. Because if Pam or someone was like, why do you have this mask?
Right.
Like why is that there? Why is his mask in his drawer?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he's the second killer. Maybe he killed.
So weird. But like
maybe he killed all the kids in the house. In the house.
In the house.
And then Roy killed all the people outside of the house.
But that would be weird because if anything, Roy would be killing the kids in the house. Because we would want the kids to die. But Roy killing like all these like him killing like a demon and stuff. Like why? There's no reason for him to kill those characters.
Here's an interesting fact about this movie though that I didn't really pick up until I knew it, but I didn't really think about it. But now we're doing these videos, so I'm being a little bit more like focusing. We don't see Roy Jason, until an hour and 10 minutes into this film, right? When it's the final chase between Reggie the Reckless, another character I love, by the way, and Pam.
Yeah.
And in that chase sequence is when we're seeing Roy and Roy alone, and it's the first time we actually see who's killing. But throughout the whole rest of the film, the killer is off screen.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even have to be wearing the Jason mask, but he could be. But what I'm saying, he's a mask maker.
Right.
Right? And the fact that it's the exact same mask. Now, if it was a different mask, if it was the mask that Jason had.
If it was like a red mask.
If it was the red mask with the hatchet mark in
that
would have been way cool.
That would have been, if that was the case, then I definitely would have been like 100% believe that Tommy was doing like the majority of the killing. Because like honestly, it doesn't make sense for Roy to kill people that weren't involved in the death of his son in any way. Like he would want to kill the other kids.
So maybe it's the reverse. Maybe
it would need to be the reverse. But that could still work. But it is very weird that it's like the exact same mask. The only other explanation would be like that's just the like the mask that's sold at stores. Like that's the hockey mask that you can go buy. But it is weird that it would be exactly the same. I definitely think it would have been
Tommy
cooler.
didn't have any time to go shopping.
Exactly.
In that town.
So he would need to have had like Jason's mask that he like took off of him or something.
So there's the mask, which is hard to explain.
Yeah.
But then he also has a kitchen knife.
Right.
In a hospital. Yeah. I'd like to explain where he got that.
Right.
Because let's say he had a mask on his persons. Mm-hmm. They're not going to just put a butcher's knife.
Like, and this goes right here.
Next to the mask. So where he got that knife, that one I beyond have no explanation
I don't
for.
Either.
So is that a second dream sequence? Right?
Right.
Is that Pam's dream sequence? Right. So I don't know, but I like the idea that maybe Tommy was doing some killing too. Mm-hmm. He had a second mask because there's no way that's Roy's mask.
It's not Roy's mask.
Unless he ran down there and grabbed it and put it on his body, and then like when they took him into the hospital,
they just didn't know
to stitch him up. They're like, we got to put his personal belongings over here.
Why does
but they like put him in a drawer. Yeah, why are we putting these away in here instead of contacting the police?
Yeah,
I got nothing on that kind of stuff. But we need to be done. We talked about this way too long, way longer. I thought half this.
We had a lot to talk about.
I think this is the longest we've talked about one. I don't even want to know what the time is going to be. It's going to be longer than the film. I'm telling you, it's like an hour and a half. It's ridiculous.
Well,
this is done.
We're done.
We're done. And I'm sure I have other things to say, but I'm not going to say them because I'm done with this. This is too much. This is too much. We got shit to do today. All right, guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.